We have some shocking breaking news, and the biggest update by far in the ongoing Trump-Epstein scandal. House Democrats have leaked emails from Jeffrey Epstein to his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, in which Epstein clearly alleges that Trump knew all about Epstein's criminal, nefarious conduct. This is a smoking gun, folks, but before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, everybody's talking about this. The New York Times, CNN, everybody's reporting on it, so let's dive right on in. Epstein alleged in emails that Trump knew of his conduct. In a message obtained by Congress, the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein wrote that Donald J. Trump spent hours at his house with one of Epstein's victims. House Democrats on Wednesday released emails in which Epstein wrote that Trump had, quote, spent hours at my house with one of Epstein's victims, among other messages that suggested the convicted sex offender believed Trump knew more about his abuse than he has acknowledged. Trump has emphatically denied any involvement in or knowledge of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. He said that he and Epstein, the disgraced financier who died by suicide in federal prison in 2019, were once friendly but had a falling out. But Democrats on the House Oversight Committee said the emails, which they selected from thousands of pages of documents received by their panel, raised new questions about the relationship between the two men. In one of the messages, Epstein flatly asserted that Trump, quote, knew about the girls, many of whom were later found by investigators to have been underage. In another, Epstein pondered how to address questions from the news media about the relationship as Trump was becoming a national political figure. The White House did not immediately respond to requests for comment. We're going to dive into more of it, but let's take a look at the emails themselves. Again, shocking to see that this White House, which loves a fight with the media, is ducking and running. So this is a screenshot of one of the emails. I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, redacted, spent hours at my house with him. He's never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. From Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell responded, I've been thinking about that. Then Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff, the author. Victim, Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Not good, folks. Not good. So, let's dive deeper still. The messages are certain to inflame the debate on Capitol Hill over the Trump administration's handling of the Epstein files and top officials' decision to backtrack on a promise to fully release them. That issue, which has split Republicans and alienated some of Trump's right-wing supporters, had faded into the background as the government shutdown dragged on. But the House is set to return on Wednesday to clear legislation to end the shutdown, and the attention is likely to shift back to the Epstein matter. Quote, these latest emails and correspondence raise glaring questions about what else the White House is hiding and the nature of the relationship between Epstein and the president. This is what they had to say. Breaking. House Oversight Dems have received new emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate that raise serious questions about Donald Trump and his knowledge of Epstein's horrific crimes. Read them for yourselves. It's time to end this cover-up and release the files. They have copies of the relevant emails there. The three separate email exchanges released on Wednesday were all from Epstein's 2008 plea deal in Florida on state charges of soliciting prostitution, in which federal prosecutors agreed not to pursue charges. They came years after Trump and Epstein had a reported falling out in the early 2000s. One was addressed to Epstein's longtime confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, while two were with the author Michael Wolff. In one email from April 2011, Epstein told Maxwell, who was later convicted on charges relating to facilitating his crimes, "What I want you to realize, the dog that hasn't barked is Trump." He added that an unnamed victim, quote, spent hours at my house with him and he has never once been mentioned. Quote, I've been thinking about that, Maxwell wrote back. In an email from January 2019, Epstein wrote to Wolff of Trump, quote, of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. House Democrats, citing an unnamed whistleblower, said this week that Maxwell was preparing to formally ask Trump to commute her federal prison sentence. Now, I will remind you that when it came to pardons and commutations, Trump had been repeatedly asked about this over the summer. Are you going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? She clearly wants a pardon. She wants her sentence commuted. He's like, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that I could do it if I wanted to. Remember, he never ruled it out. And he used similar evasive language to describe pardons that he eventually gave at the end of his first term for people like, Roger Stone and others, right? So if past his prologue, Trump is very likely to pardon or commute Maxwell's sentence, which would be, of course, politically foolish, but he might think, screw it, the Republicans will never really leave me, not really in the end. And there's good reason to believe that's the case, right? Because it's become a cult of personality. The emails were provided to the House Oversight Committee along with a larger tranche of documents from Epstein's estate that the panel requested as part of its investigation into Epstein and Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year sentence on sex trafficking charges. The committee staff redacted victim's name and any identifying information from the emails. Because the full set of documents has not been released, it was not clear whether the emails had been excerpted from larger conversations that might have provided fuller context. So this is not good, folks. It's just not good. Tommy Vitor, Pod Save America, said, Jeffrey Epstein said in an email that Trump knew about the girls. That's not a smoking gun. It's a bonfire. And of course he did. Epstein recruited women from Mar-a-Lago. All of this is why Ghislaine Maxwell got moved to a low-security prison. So let's dive into the Twitter reaction on this, because I'm sure it is spicy. It's already trending on Twitter. Let's see the cope from MAGA. In a message obtained by Congress, the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein wrote that Trump spent hours at his house with one of Epstein's victims. Pablo Torre, who's a journalist, says, Dear Mr. President, if you'd like to call into my sports show today as well, I have some questions. Jim Acosta weighing in. Kyle Griffin weighing in, basically just recapping the situation. Friend of the show and friend of mine, Jessica Tarlov, said Trump might prefer the shutdown to another round of Epstein documents. Democratic commentator on Twitter, Ed Krasenstein's commenting on this as well. Trump is guilty. He is sick. Ted Lieu, Democratic congressman. Trump and complicit Republicans are engaged in a massive cover-up of the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. Not good. John Favreau, Pod Save America, said, you really got to read the emails for yourself. Headlines don't do it justice. Will Sommer, Jeffrey Epstein about Trump. Of course he knew about the girls. Ryan Goodman, attorney. I think Lawfare or Just Security? Just Security. It begins, clearly incriminating against the President of the United States. Not good. How has MAGA reacted? I'm just curious. Are we going to see anything? Dan Pfeiffer, Pod Save America, says, helps explain why Trump is trying so hard to keep Ghislaine Maxwell happy and silent by, of course, arranging for her relocation. Dan Goldman, Democratic congressman and lawyer, former prosecutor. This was an incriminating private email exchange between co-conspirators. There is no reason for Epstein to lie. Trump has every reason to lie in denying his knowledge of and involvement with Epstein's underage victims. Damn, I'm surprised we're not seeing a lot of Republican response. Democratic Congressman Jason Crow, Donald Trump's been fighting like hell to prevent the release of the Epstein files. It's no surprise why. Stop the cover-up, release all the files, give the American people the truth they deserve. Sarah Longwell, never Trump Republican and major contributor to the Bulwark. Do they raise questions? Seem to me they answer questions. It's insane how we're not seeing much by way of a Republican response. How are they gonna insurrection? Oh, okay. Finally, we found one. Insurrection Barbie, who's an outspoken Trump supporter on Twitter. She got a lot of followers, 1 million followers. And yet, if this was credible, we would have known about it years ago before the election. Let's see how the replies are. I don't think this is the flex Dems think it is. Clearly, Trump asked him to resign membership from Mar-a-Lago, and Epstein is looking for a way to leverage his relationship with Trump. That should call Epstein's credibility into question right there. He knew about the girls. Yeah, so did everyone else who was alive at the time. Tell me something we didn't know. But then he should have tried to stop it. She should have went to the police. Knowing and committing sexual assault are not the same. Yeah, but if you know about the sexual assault and you're the president of the United States and you denied having known anything about the sexual assault, you're a liar and you have facilitated the cover-up, at least a cover-up for years, of extraordinarily horrific crimes against women. So that definitely indicts Trump. Exactly. Everyone in Hollywood knew, and they knew about Harvey Weinstein, too. Doesn't mean anything. That's so funny, the cope coming from these losers. Oh, it doesn't matter that Trump knew all about these horrific crimes against women. Oh, it's a Democrat who knew? Then, yeah, absolutely. That's bad. But if it's Donald Trump who knew, well, then, I mean, that's not a big deal, right? Because knowing and doing aren't the same thing. Sure, he might not have ever said anything, and sure, he may have lied about what he did know, but, that's Trump. Cope. Pure cope. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. I'm just looking again, seeing what MAGA cope is here. Former Tea Party Republican Congressman Joe Walsh for the umpteenth time. The most obvious answer is most always the correct answer. That's Occam's razor, by the way. A real Donald Trump most likely was a client in Epstein's pedophilia ring, and Trump most likely sexually abused and victimized young girls. That's always been the most obvious answer. Tara Palmieri, a friend of the show and a journalist who has covered this relentlessly, said this is shocking, but so is Michael Wolff's collusion with Jeffrey Epstein. So, yeah, it looks like for the most part, MAGA is ducking and running from this, folks, but this is a smoking gun, and everybody needs to spread the word and put more pressure on Trump and the Republicans to release the Epstein files. And we'll definitely keep tracking this, but this is shocking, not unsurprising, but shocking nonetheless, and it's by far the biggest update in the ongoing Trump-Epstein scandal. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.